you bring up a very interesting point. So there is a good use case in telecom security of using eBPF.
Yeah.
eBPF is been there for ages now, and wonderful tool which you can use to really tune that kernel. It's really evolving, but when it will come as a part of telecom security space, I don't know. Some enterprise are using there by their choice, and they don't have any standard. So the vendor is playing with them that, hey, if you want to use this, use our version of eBPF. So my question is like, are the operators really taking the insight from those standards? Because here we are talking about release 19 almost getting finished. We are working on 6G, and vendors are coming up with release 16, release 17 softwares. Hello everyone. Assalamu alaikum. So, welcome to Security Pulse, your trusted source for insights into cybersecurity and emerging technologies. I'm Taha Sajid. I'm an author, a cybersecurity or telecommunication architect, and also a father of three kids. Today we have with us Mr. Karim, Mr. Karim Rabi. I'm thrilled to introduce him. He's a principal telco cloud architect at Red Hat. He has an immersive 20 years of experience in the ICT architecture. His expertise spans across data networks, orchestration domains, bringing AI into telecom, like mobility OS, and the list goes on. He's recognized as one of the top 5G YouTubers. He ran podcast shows. He has held technical key positions with NEC, Nokia, and Huawei. And he's been driving not only the telecom operators and vendors, but he's also involved in industry working groups like HC, NFE. Uh, he's also a working member of ITU 5G machine learning focus group. And he's just not good in only just technology and telecom. He is also a founder of ScoutX, which is rapidly growing sports tech startup that combines his passion for football and technology. So I'm really honored to have Karim with me. Welcome, Karim, to the show.
Thanks, Taha. It's really a pleasure to be here with you today. And I'm really excited, to have this 1 hour with you.
Yeah. Thank you, Karim, for coming. So, like for our guest watching this show, to give them some insights about like how we know each other. So I've been following Karim. I've been his, uh, uh, silent, subscribers to his podcast shows. I've been watching his, from the time he started this podcast. I was actively, want to see when is the next show coming up. And what he really liked about him is that he just not is really like related to the emerging technologies, but like the way he interacts with his followers and with his audience in translating complex things into easy to understand language. That is what really inspired me as well. So yeah, we'll start with your journey, Karim. In terms of your field, so you have been into like numerous things, that what telecom has to offer. So what has motivated you, and if you can just bring some light into your early part of your career, and what has motivated you to reach to where you are right now.
Okay, so classically, I graduated from Faculty of Engineering, the telecommunication section, in 2003. And by that time, it was like the 3G was very dominant. But my first steps was into the data network part. It was not on the mobile communication. And it came by coincidence, by the way, because during my university years, I used to have Spanish courses. So that was my hobby by that time. I really liked the Spanish. And guess what? After I graduated, France Telecom in Egypt, they were building a new team that supports the network installations in Latin America and in Spain. So basically, they were looking for an engineer who can speak Spanish, and it was only me. They targeted me, they talked to me, and then I joined them, and that was my first steps into the network part.
Nice, very good, very inspiring. So you'll teach us some Spanish as well during this short podcast.
Sí, 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 sí.
Got it. So when we talk about telecom, we talk about cloud architecture. and this cloud has been there for ages now, but it has gone into telecom. It has gone into telecom a bit late, to my liking. So uh, when somebody wants to get into the telecom cloud world, what do you think, what can be the challenges and opportunities, what he has to understand before getting into this journey?
Um, I think what is really exciting about our career, me and you, working on technology and the telecommunication, that every 2 or 3 years, new technologies rise, new stacks appear. So it all depends on you. I mean, if you want to stay on the learning mode, if you want to get into the new technologies, then you have to do your homework. And the homework here is actually the studying part or the learning part. So the classic entrance for Teleco Cloud, and by the way, it was on 2015. That was when the telco started to embrace the cloud technologies. The classic entrance is the HCNFV specifications, because we telco professionals, we are very used to read standards like 3GPP and IETF,
Hmm.
plus trying to understand the overall cloud concept from the different sources that you can find online, like from hyperscalers, from Red Hat, from the cloud providers. So if you
Hmm.
manage to mix these two sources of knowledge, most probably you're on the right track to be one of the leads or the experts on the telco cloud.
Yeah, yeah, very true, very true. And to add it here, what I also see as an challenge here is to do something about your legacy architecture. You have to have proper planning in place about how would you migrate your data, and uh, which public cloud you want to use for your applications, whether you will be using multi-cloud or single cloud. It all depends on your use case and your strategy. So this is something which is really important to have the planning right first upfront, before moving to the cloud architectures.
Um,
uh,
yeah, I agree. I agree. Maybe I focused on the individual part, on how actually you could enable yourself to work on the cloud track. But I agree with you. There are a lot of challenges, and actually we have been through these challenges for the last years. And I would just name maybe what one of the biggest challenges here is that actually the desire or the intention to adopt a specific technology, if it's not coming from a business motivation or a new revenue stream or some sort of a business catalyst, most
mhm,
probably it will fail. And this is one of our challenges in the telco, that sometimes most of the operators or some of the operators, they embrace technologies or adopt technologies just for sake of branding or for sake of
mhm,
adopting the technology.
mhm, mhm.
And
True, true.
that was one of the mistakes, by the way, in 2015 and 16, when all the telcos start to embrace telco cloud, but without a clear use case, a clear business use case.
Yeah, yeah, true, true. And one of the technical challenge I see, Karim, here in the US is, for example, most operators are going with AWS public cloud, for their infrastructure. Uh, they don't realize that when you bring in AWS cloud, or let's say Azure, whatever the cloud you think, you have to rely on their orchestration part, like the platform layer, which is, for example, EKS in case of AWS. And if you are using Nokia applications, then you have to make sure that your Nokia applications are compatible with your EKS platform, and there's something which you have to give in, and have to make sure that the whatever public cloud you're using, they are also compatible with your application and with your use case as well. So this is something which is also very important when it comes to the technical challenges and considerations. uh, Talking about 5G, 5G has been now, I think when I started, when I was like halfway into my career in Saudi Arabia, there were many operators, trying to use 5G and migrate from 4G to 5G. And one of the challenge what I see also here is that whoever is using 5G, they cannot monetize 5G to the level what they would like to do, and one of the reasons what I see is not having the proper use case, or proper strategy, to do something with 5G. So in your experience, what do you think, what are the top three use cases if any operator, let's say, wants to adapt 5G and wants to think about, hey, I should okay, I can get better TCU or better ROI later, but what top three use cases I should be focusing on?
Okay. Now it's 2024, so we now have the window to inspect what happened during the last years and talk from
Mm-hmm.
maybe from
Mm-hmm.
a more confident abstract. So
Mm-hmm.
still, the classic use case is still as it is. It's actually the what they call the mobile broadband, and it's a very classic. So you widen the data pipe, people consume more data. You give them more speed, more data rate, so they consume more,
Mm-hmm.
so they pay more,
Mm-hmm.
and that's one of the classic use cases, and still there. And that's the thing. That's the, I would say, the priority number one for all the operators, because that's a classic data monetization scheme. The
Mm-hmm.
second thing which is coming, and you spoke about Saudi Arabia, and I'm here in Dubai. It's the rise of private 5Gs. So that's the new vertical of use cases that operators partner with either system integrator or a hyperscaler to provide some sort of a private 5G in a box, whatever in a box. And it will look like, for the audience, maybe to get the feel of that, it will look like the managed Wi-Fi, as if you are giving a managed Wi-Fi
Mm-hmm.
solution for a
Mm-hmm.
factory or a thing. So it's the same thing, but with different quality of service. So it's coming, and I see a lot of things happening on the back end. The third use case, because you asked me to name three use cases, is actually the IoT and the smart cities. And I see a lot of cooperation between the mobile operators and
Mm-hmm.
entities who actually run these smart cities, the governmental entities in most of the Gulf countries, to do some sort of a joint offering for smart cities, uh, public safety as well. But if you ask me, till now, it's the classic use case. It's the wide
Is
data pipeline.
very very well said. Very well said. And there is a like catch here that people are to monetize 5G or to position themselves better. They may try out different use cases and do a research, or for example network slicing is one use case. They can try out some like ultra reliable low latency use case, but the actual application is less to what they can sell out. And you talked about private 5G. So one of the challenge here, because you in the US, like a lot of operators are going towards the private 5G use case where they are using DSDS as a technology on the UE side, to search. But the problem of that, what I see is that there are, so for example, if you are using a sim where you are using like Verizon as your main network, and if you're using DSD like DS to offload your traffic into a private 5G network, which is let's say a tier 3 operator coming up like an MVNO, which is offloading the traffic, you are offloading the traffic to. But then you have to think about the other use case, that hey, if I'm getting into the coverage of both the operators, how my subscriber will land into my network, and what are the challenges that if I need to do some troubleshooting, so it has its own challenges as well. So private 5G, yes, it looks fancy, but it has to be properly planned, and you need to have proper resources for that as well, who can guide you into this journey. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, and most of the activities happening on the region here are more into demos and pilots, and demos are valid here because you need to make sure that these use cases make sense for your end customer, right? So if you are targeting a specific industry segment, then
Hmm.
you need to demonstrate this technology for that industry segment, because we have to acknowledge that these industry segments have been using other technologies other than 5G since like many years. So this is not
Yeah,
something
yeah.
new for them. You're trying to give them a replacement with additional value. So
Hmm.
yes, as
Hmm.
you said, it's facing some difficulties in reality. But again, this is a classic use case for the cooperation between mobile operator and hyperscalers and system integrators. So they cooperate to tailor one private 5G solution, and in some cases, they don't go for a classic capex model the telcos used to have. No, it's more like a revenue sharing model. So we have our solution. It can be provisioned in zero touch provisioning. We sell it together. Even if a hyperscaler or SI have good connection with an enterprise customer, so let's go together. We have a joint go to market and we sell together. So that's also a shift in the mindset. Coming from the 5G.
Got it. And it's about, if I have to summarize what you have just explained in just uh, easy to understand thing, for our operators watching this show, So if you have to sell your desert, it's about selling your like main course really well, which is the classic 5G use case. Whatever quality of service promise that you have given to your customer for the QoS and for latency, whatever, stick to it and make sure that you are delivering that good. That would give you the numbers that what you are looking for. Okay, very good. So moving on, I'll slightly focus ourselves towards the AI, what everyone is talking about, in conferences here in the US, or anywhere in the global, AI is the talking point of many conferences, and it has been shaping telecom industry as well. Uh, so if I have to ask you that, in terms of innovation, what are the domains of telecom where you really see the potential of AI penetrating?
Okay. So you know that classically AI have been always there in our roadmaps. If you are a vendor,
Yeah.
an operator, system integrator. So in the last 5 years or last 10 years, whenever someone tries to show a roadmap for technology, it's
Yeah.
classically positioned at the end. But now I
Yeah.
think we are in that stage. So we are now like trying to bring solid use cases. So you asked me about the segments on the telco where the AI use cases are started to appear and started to be embraced. So the telco enterprise is complex because there are a lot of
Mhm,
layers, a lot
mhm,
of
mhm,
that there's the BSS, the OSS,
mhm, mhm,
even the service layer. There's another
mhm,
big layer of resources like data centers and cloud stuff, and
mhm,
even there's the enterprise layer itself, the internal enterprise. So if you ask me, the one of the most mature uh, area in telco, it's actually the BSS, because there where you have this kind of marketplaces, where you have the digital apps,
mhm,
and
mhm,
there you find a lot of AI use cases about recommending products based on certain pattern, somehow predicting customers' behaviors.
mhm,
Because
mhm,
there you can record the customer journey. They call it customer journey in the BSS,
mhm,
and based
mhm,
on all of
mhm.
multiple customers, multiple journeys, you start to have some logic that give you
Yeah.
some sort of predictions. So it is there classically, but in our part, in the network, in the telco, or not telco, like the main operations. So AI is there classically whenever you find an orchestration layer in any layer, for example, in the OSS, doing this kind of provisioning, service assurance. Now the AI solution are there because you have a lot of data tracked, from the network functions and from the cloud. Classically,
Mhm,
telcos, they have some sort of umbrellas that collect fault management and performance management and logs from different layers from the network. So in that layer or in the OSS, that's where you find the teams working on data warehouses. And that's where
mhm,
you can start to position AI-based solution that gives you multiple values. For instance, you can use AI solutions for uh, predictive maintenance. So we used to have some sort of a thinking with the orchestration that you can do a closed loop control. So you get some input data, and that
mhm.
hits a specific logic, and then you apply a corrective action. But now with predictive maintenance, you can even apply the corrective action or preventive action before the action occurs.
Mhm.
Uh, another explicit positioning of AI comes now with the new technology evolving. I know that you are interested also in ORAN. I can see that. For example, in ORAN, it comes natively with an architecture that refers to existence of AI engine. In the 5G, you can have now there is an explicit mention on having the data analytics function or network data analytics, so you can take actions based on data analytics. Maybe that might look a little bit, I would say, basic for some professionals, but for us, for telecoms, that's something, because we didn't have that before. We didn't have an explicit architecture that mandates existence of that kind of AI engine. So, as a summary, you'll find with the new technology architecture as a main brick, like in the O-RAN, in the 5G. You find it in the BSS classically, and that has been there for a while. And also classically, it's there in the OSS, doing this kind of preventive maintenance. And for sure, there's a lot of other use cases now being worked on, being demoed, especially with the introduction of Gen AI.
I really like how you have, make this, like explain this topic, because when I think about AI, I think about, I can use AI everywhere, the amount of productivity and the efficiency it can brings to the organization and the architecture, but making sure that you understand the use cases before you implement technology is really important. And talking about AI, then we know like Gen AI is really coming into its own age, and it's really evolving, and every enterprise, especially like the telecom enterprise, are having now its own GPT models. So in terms of the architecture, we were like I mean, we have seen like 5G, since it's been mainly 3GPP driven, like from different working groups. But ORAN, since there's some customization going on into like every vendor is trying its own thing, how they can come into this ORAN ecosystem, and there are also coming up with some Gen AI use cases as well. So in terms of your view of the things, where do you see Gen AI can really make its mark in the ORAN, as well as in the 5G architecture?
Okay. So the same way as when we talked about the 5G, we said we are in 2024. So now we have a good window of confidence to comment on what happened during the last years. So now when you ask about Gen AI, we have to acknowledge first that the AI, even the machine learning, I mean, with the classic definition, I wouldn't say it's not yet adopted widely at the telcos. Okay, so when we talk about Gen AI, and that's very aligned to the latest survey done by TM Forum, that it looks like most of the telco operators, tier one operators, are interested to deploy Gen AI. And now we are in the phase 2, trying to articulate or come with use cases. So the use cases that I've seen, and because also of my connections with the vendors, of the orchestration vendors, because it's classically the orchestration vendors, like the big names like Netcracker, Blue Planet, those people are focusing on the orchestration. They are now shifting or trying also to bring more AI, bright capabilities into their solutions. So, for instance, the Gen AI in the orchestration level, we used to have some sort of a design time and runtime. Runtime, that's where you have the orchestration engine. That's where you push configuration, apply policies. And the design time, that's where you design the service or design the logic. The evolution by that time was to give you some sort of a nice GUI to start drag and drop and build the service based on that. But the new evolution that we see now from these vendors is that you can actually use Gen AI to construct that kind of visual diagram. So instead of doing drawing, you talk with the engine. You tell that, you know what, I'm looking to do an enterprise B2B X service. Then he said, yes, okay. So what are the components of this service? You start to talk. So you design the service from Gen AI. So that's a number. That's a use case that I'm seeing now in some of the orchestrators, and even in the O-RAN side specifically. Another classic Gen AI, and also based on the survey, is actually the internal ChatGPT, or the internal knowledge Git of the enterprise. So this kind of idea has always been there. Like every vendor or every operator has its own internal Git of knowledge. And this is happening on the local enterprise level. So these are the two use cases. But again, we need to acknowledge that we have some effort to do to actually map the classic AI use cases into production and then go into Gen AI. And because we don't want to do the same mistake of adopting a specific technology or trend without a clear use case that brings benefit.
Yes. Very good laid out. A couple of things I need to add on, or that this is how I feel about the use of Gen AI in the telecom world. So when we start, let's say, a planning stage of, let's say, we want to do a 5G architecture, or let's say an orchestration platform to deploy pods in a hyperscaler, let's say. So every vendor has its main product, which they use for the orchestration part. Like Nokia uses Encom, like Huawei uses their own U2000, O2000, all those like platforms. And the thing is, they collect to orchestrate the data or to actually deploy the applications. You have to rely on some configurations. You have to rely on some design inputs, which can come in the form of HLD, LLD, IPCIQ, all those things that comes and get into this Helm charts, configurations, and on all those things. So there, I see a good use case where you can develop a model to feed those data, and you can get those output instead of bringing in five resources, design resources, paying hundred of thousands of dollars to the tier one vendors. You can have your own model where you can have, let's say, one engineer, which you can have just to review those scripts, review those things, and you'll be done. So this way you can
Yeah.
like decrease your manpower. The second use case what I see is in the security aspect. So when you are doing, let's say, in operations, like the managed services, either Huawei, Nokia, Ericsson, whoever is doing managed services, you have to rely on security guys if there is a security incident. So you can use your train your model to with your data sets, which can get you the right impact of your incidents, to like to quantify that, hey, this is a false positive versus this is a really impactful thing, and where you need to develop a patch, for example. So these two are some of the good use cases which can save you some cost. But as Karim said out, that before you think about a lot of things, and full your plate, think about a classic use case and how you can make sure that the AI really makes sense for you, and then maybe do a research and try to integrate your research items with something like a pilot project, and then you can scale it from there. So you have to plan those things really, really carefully. Okay, and
I
this is
agree, Taha, and actually your point is very aligned with the design point of the orchestration. So it seems like at any design stage of whatever technology, it makes sense to have a Gen AI, because we all know this kind of output of design phase, which is the HLD, LLD, these artifacts, it's like 90% it's well-defined construct, and you can just feed with variables. So
true.
somehow, yeah, that can be handled by Gen AI. I agree.
Now I'll focus ourselves to some of the industry related groups, like industry working groups. I'm being part of the 3GPP, SA3 group initially. Then I been into SA2 group, and I worked a bit about ORAN groups as well. So what I felt is, in those discussions, it's more of a parliament house where everybody is pitching their own policy, and you have to make sure that you have the numbers if you have to agree with a particular standard, or pitch yourself, like whatever thing that you are doing. So in terms of your experience with working with Etsy, with working with different industry groups, are we uh, taking the right, like, is like, so my question is, like, are the operators really taking the insights of from those standards? Because here we are talking about release 19 almost getting finished. We are working on 6G, and vendors are coming up with release 16, release 17 softwares. So there is a gap what I see in what uh, software the vendor is actually using in the production to where the industry is going. So how do you see this? Like, are we really taking the advantage from all those industry groups, and can those industry groups can be converged into one table, like ORAN, 3GPP, Etsy, like GSMA, and so how do you see all this going on?
Well, it's a tough question, but yeah, I've been living, I mean, in this kind of questions and insights about different groups for the last 9 or 10 years. So let's take it one by one. Okay, why telecommunication in particular needs standardization? For instance, why the other industries they don't have standardization? Okay, so classically, uh, building mobile networks starting from 2G, 3G, 4G has always followed a standard approach. For instance, if you are building a mobile network, most probably, I'm not talking about single vendor solution, single vendor mobile operator. Usually, that require integration with different vendors. Usually, the classically the radio, the core, the CS, the PS, the IMS, and the IT, the VAS, the OS, the BSS. The telecom, what we call the telecom application map. It's very complex. So if you leave this complexity without a kind of standardization that standardize the architecture and the interfaces, it will be a mess. Especially this mess A integrate with mess B, mess C in the roaming scenario. So it's not just even a standalone integration. It's a lot of roaming scenarios. So if you don't go with the standardization, then you're dead. And that what gave 3GPP the strengths and the consent from everyone that yes, we need to follow 3GPP. What happened actually starting from 2015 that we started to see a lot of SDOs producing publications under the name or under the title standards. So we have a lot of initiatives, as you named. We have the HCNFV, and we have the ORAN Alliance. We have even another one, the Karim. It's called ORAN, not ORAN Alliance. And we have even the IETF. We have the GSMA applications. So we started to see a lot of fragmentation in the market, because if you have 6 standards, then you don't have standard. And then the well-known debate has started. Like the new joiners or the new professionals coming into telecom, coming from different backgrounds, coming from cloud, coming from software development, they start to question. I mean, guys, come on. Why do you need standards? I mean, to build the cloud. Why do I need to have to, because standards, the cycles take a lot out of much time, like for example months and maybe years to produce a draft. And as you said, there should be some approvals, and it's not a secret. I mean, if for example, let me name some, if Ericsson wants left, most probably Huawei will right. And there are a lot of conflicts there. So why do we need that in the cloud? So we unfortunately discovered late that building a cloud is different from building a mobile network. So sometimes standard makes sense, and sometimes, and I'm a standards guy. I've been loyal to the standard for all my life, but at some technologies you have to leave the innovation and this kind of community work to flourish. You cannot bind that into the standard cycles of standardization. So in some technologies, we still need the standards, 5G, that's fine. Others, I would say standards should only stop what we call on level 1 or level 2. And level 1, level 2 in standards mean just giving you a high, the architecture, maybe some use cases, but how to do it, no, that's really too much. And we saw that, and I will finish my statement for this one. See the rise of containers or containerization in telecom. A lot of operators did that on the IT. Even some did that in the telco, while HNV even was not ready. And then out of nowhere, we found a publication saying, yeah, you know what? There are new function blocks, something called CISM. No, the technology has been adopted, and people are already generating use cases. So yeah, it's my opinion is some technologies, classic technologies, require standardization. 3GP is an example. ORAN also is an example because at the end it's a functional technology. But when it comes to orchestration, to cloud, no, let's leave that to the community.
True, true, true. I totally agree with you, and you bring up a very interesting point. I wanted to go to my next question, but I mean, this is very very touchy topic, for me as well. So there is a good use case in security, in telecom security, of using eBPF. You know, uh,
Yeah,
eBPF is been there for ages now, and it's really a wonderful thing and wonderful tool which you can use to really tune that kernel. Uh, and it's really evolving, but when it will come as a part of telecom security space, I don't know. Some enterprise are using their by their choice, and they don't have any standard. So the vendor is playing with them that, hey, if you want to use this, use our version of eBPF. So there is, like, it's not going anywhere. Second good use case is about zero trust security. So I was part of that working group where we have, like, maximum members, if I have to count out in a group, is for the zero trust security, where we have 30 organizations coming in. And with those 30 organizations, they're only tackling a small part of zero trust, which is only for the control plane, only for the UE related threats coming in. What about data plane? What about management plane? Okay, leave it to other groups. So we are not going anywhere as an industry. So, like, coming back to your point, that we have to just focus on what is the really telco specific use case, and just leave the other, like, say, cloud security to some of the other organizations which are doing, and let the enterprise handle those things individually.
exactly.
Okay, coming then, you've been always passionate about sports, passionate about soccer. You started the Scout X, Karim. So tell me more about Scout X. What is Scout X? What has motivated you, and how you can, like, how you are bridging your technology expertise with your football expertise.
Yeah, I grew up in Cairo, in Egypt, and we have Mohamed Salah now playing in Liverpool. So if you ask me, I'm 43 years old, and if you ask even the community of the footballers in Egypt, if you ask him, was Mohamed Salah like the best talent by that time? No, the answer was no. There are a lot of other talents, maybe have more like a flair or dribbling like Salah, but they were never seen. So, and me, when I was young, I used to play football, and it's not a secret. My friends know that I really wanted to be a football player or a soccer player, and that was the motivation for me to come up with the with ScoutX. ScoutX, it's a digital platform that actually helps the talents anywhere in the world. I mean, to showcase their skills. If you are a parent, if you are a player, if you are a coach, you can just start to build your digital profile on ScoutX, and we are giving you the right platform to connect with the clubs, with the scouts, with the agents, and we have created that kind of digital platform, and somehow we are doing. I mean, we have a good traction. Somehow we have almost 7,000 players. We are in 6 countries, and we have over like 70 plus football academies using
Oh,
ScoutX.
mashallah, mashallah,
And
very good.
yeah, and we are preparing for something big in the next 2 months, inshallah.
So can we expect you giving a webinar for soccer skills, showing some soccer
Yeah,
skills? Because my son lately, he's really into soccer these days, and I'm finding him some academy where he can go, and but I have to drop him, pick him up, and it will be a lot for me, so I'm thinking, like a webinar or something which I can have him enrolled, and he can start learning his
yeah.
skills, remotely. Yeah.
Well, Yeah, I mean, and you see, there are a lot of missed opportunities for both sides. I mean, there are a lot of talents in everywhere in South America, in Africa, and they will never see. But for the startup itself, it has a story because you know, like most of us, we have been focusing on the corporate business, and you know, we have been doing this. You know, you said that in the introduction. I worked in many companies like Nokia, Huawei, system integrators, NEC, STC, Orange, France Telecom. So I was like, you know, highly engaged with the corporates. And then I've always had this dream on having my own startup about food. And then when I like 2 years back, I did some surveys, tried to meet some of the big names in the
Mm-hmm.
startup and the entrepreneurship
Mm-hmm.
in Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then one guy told me a very good statement, a very good advice. He told me that, see, you want to do something. This is your dream, right? I said yes.
Mm-hmm.
He said you have two options. Either you do it or you will not do it. If you don't do it, you will always blame yourself for not doing it for the rest of your life. Why didn't I do that? And if you do it, you have the other two options. Either you succeed and then you achieve your dream, or you fail. But at least you have made like you didn't miss the chance. I mean, you will never you'll not blame yourself because you did what you wanted to do. So that actually, shaped me, and then I had this kind of contact with my friends who had the same interests, and we did it. I mean, and 1 year back, we were somehow we got selected by one of the incubators in Dubai to incubate the company for 3 years. So we moved from Egypt to Dubai, and yeah, here we are.
Nice, nice, mashallah. Very, very inspiring, Karim. Very inspiring. And just to add on to your last point, so when you try, you got two options. Was that like that's what I think. One is success. Obviously, you'll make it through. The other one is that you will learn. You'll not fail. You will learn from it. So people watching, this show and or listening to us. So so guys, if you have a dream, just go for it. There is no better time now, because it's you have the resources, you have people, who can teach you on YouTube. You can see a lot of websites, and just go out and try out. There is always a learning that you will have it, and try to get this learning and use it to excel the next time that you will try. So just do it.
And
Okay.
Taha, because
Hmm.
some colleagues contacted me. I mean, when I announced that
Uh-huh.
I have Scott X, many colleagues contacted me, and they are in corporates, and they all wanted to do that. So they were asking me, was it difficult for you to start a startup at that age, and to that's very the way of thinking, the mentality is completely different. So my advice that it's never too late. I mean, you can still do it, and guess what? Your work on the corporate will help you a lot because you have experienced a lot working with these corporates. Uh, you are doing implicitly a pitch every day. I mean, in your work, either to sell a service, to sell a package, to do your work. It's just some sort of pitch. So it's a little bit different, but still you are doing it, and it helped me. And if you have the right support from the family and from the friends, and for sure, if you don't have any kind of conflict of interest or legal issues with your employer, then yes.
Yes, yes. Make sure that what you are doing it safely. That's the advice.
Exactly.
Okay. So moving on to now the last section of this show. So I've seen your workshop recently where you have like collaborated with, I think, like Lab Labby. What, like, was it to
Blah blah blah.
deliver the boot camp, and it was very successful. I see lots of likes, lots of comments there. So if somebody like who is into the telecommunication space for like say like 10 years, he's into radio, UE side, RF side, core, whatever, and he wants to excel in his career. What guidance will you give him that, hey, just do this two three things, maybe go to these two three platforms, get a mentor, or how do you get him the next kick what he needs in his career?
Okay, let's first agree on the cornerstone that working in technology in general means that you need to keep your profile sharp. So you need to stay always in the learning mode, because if you skip a specific wave of technology, most probably you'll be left behind. So this is very very clear. So you have always to be keen on learning new stuff. I just want to give an example of my career, not an advice, but just like my experience. Okay, so in 2015, I was a senior core consultant working on the packet core, and now I'm a principal architect in Red Hat. In 2015, it might look a little bit awkward, but I didn't know that Red Hat exists. I didn't know what's actually Red Hat, what is Mirantis. Even I didn't know what is anything, like what is VMware. I didn't know anything about those players. Okay, and now I'm a principal architect in Red Hat. So do you think that I worked on Red Hat or my colleague worked on AWS because he's expert in Red Hat or AWS? No. So the second point that I want to talk about it is actually your experience in the telecom. That's what makes you have a strong profile. So build on top of that. Try to go left and right, because Taha, you gave an example of someone with 10 years of experience. 10 years of experience, you shouldn't be focused on something, on one thing, on having and staying in your comfort zone. You have to start to gradually see the end-to-end picture. Okay, so you go to the cloud, you go to the automation, you go to the AI, see the BSS, these kind of things. But protect your core strengths. This is my advice, because some colleagues or some professionals, they think of something called career shift. There is nothing called career shift in technology. You cannot, for example, leave the mobile core where you are expert in, and suddenly you take a Python course and I'm going to be a Python expert. No, just make use of your core strengths and move to Python, and that what makes you different and unique in the market. And this is again my story, and even my colleagues and my friends' story. They all shifted from Telecom, moved to AWS, moved to VMware, moved to Red Hat, not because they are experts in the cloud, but because they have the end-to-end picture and they have the core telco experience. So keep up the core telco experience. Maybe Taha, I can maybe listen to your reflection, and then we can talk about the platforms.
Yeah, I actually, as you were speaking, I was thinking about my journey as well, and the point that you have mentioned is totally valid, and I can totally relate to this. So, to my audience, I also share you a bit about my experience as well. I started my career as a CS core engineer back in 2010, 11. Uh, when I moved into Huawei after like 5 years, I was mainly doing the CS work. Okay. But then I realized that, hey, I should not be sitting in my comfort zone. And what I really wanted out of my life is just not doing this 9 to 5, doing some, STP analysis or MSc analysis, doing some configuration. I should be thinking more about what I can give to the marketplace. So then I started exploring more technologies about how I can learn more technologies. Blockchain, cybersecurity are some of those technologies. And when I understood those technologies, I started to apply those technologies into the telecommunication knowledge what I have. What happened was 2 3 years I got an opportunity to do a security audit for a big tier one operator, which is having the tier one vendor products on it, to do the security assessment. Why I got this opportunity? Because I was learning cybersecurity and I was good at telecom, so my management thought that, hey, I'll be the one who can assist in this role. And from there I got the chance to use my skills, gain the experience, and the next opportunity I got is a principal security architect for 5G. So what things what as as Karim pointed out, that try to learn new things and try to make sure that whatever you are learning, you can apply those skills into your main core knowledge, which is telecom or software or whatever the industry belongs to, and keep pushing forward. No matter what the world is saying that, hey, you are changing your career, why you are changing, why you're moving from telecom to Python, just don't listen to this noise. Just do it whatever you think would be good for you.
Exactly, Taha.
Yeah, so that's
Exactly.
what my take is. Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, Karim, you want to add something?
No. I mean, for the platforms, there is a gap in the market when it comes to technology hands-on curriculums of work, and that's why I really like LabLabi, and like what they are doing, because they are mixing, their labs are positioned to the telecom sector, so they are mixing the technologies. You can, for example, you can get 5G experience about classic 5G cores with deployment on Kubernetes, so you get the cloud touch. So for me, I mean, for telecom professionals, these kind of labs are very useful. But if you don't have this chance to go with them, you have to do like what Taha was saying, that you can get, for example, some cloud certificates, like this kind of introductory clouds. But try always to map whatever you do in your zone, in your area, your core expertise. When you do that, first of all, you will excel in your job, and that will give you opportunity to get more tasks, to get more exposure, and that's what happened to Taha, and the same exactly that happened to me. Also, that will make your profile sharp and broad. I like the term of you can do like some sort of a experience career portfolio. So you have a portfolio of experiences. So now you have your core expertise, and then you go a little bit to cloud, and you go a little bit to automation, you go a bit to AI, and this is actually what I'm doing.
Very good, very good. Karim, let us open our floor to some of the Q&As. Let us see if we have any questions. We see. Rabia, did you get any questions from our guest, from our uh, attendees, or if you have any questions to Karim, we have him with us. Please feel free to ask. Yeah, there is an interesting comment, Karim, that we use the word, we have been hearing this word metaverse, So, uh, is there any use case that we can think maybe in 6G of metaverse coming in more into the telco space?
Well, see again, our like technology field in general, it has a lot of buzzwords. Okay, so we have all to acknowledge that it's a lot of buzzwords. Sometimes these buzzwords reflects a reality. Sometimes just a buzzword. So 6G is still open for the proposal and suggestions. Me personally, I had some proposals in the in one of the ITU sessions. For instance, in the 6G, we are talking about the AI native network. It's a buzzword at the end, but it has a definition. Everyone has its own definition of AI native. There could be some use cases for metaverse, because I'm in Dubai, so I know that operators here in the UAE are interested to explore these use cases. So yes, there might be.
Very good. Thank you, Karim. It's been an absolute pleasure having you. I'm sure that our audience have find this discussion a very, very insightful, very interesting. We got the chance to learn about you a lot from your journey, from your experience, and especially how the telco world is transforming and evolving. We talked about different use cases, AI, in orchestration domains. It's been an absolute pleasure having you.
Thanks, Taha. Same here. I'm really happy to finally meet you and talk to you. And I hope that we can have maybe another episode soon.
Sure. It's a lot to talk about, guys, and it's 1 hour is really no time. But yeah, I mean, thank you for watching us. Thank you for coming into this platform, joining this discussion. I'm Taha Sajid. Wishing you all the best in your career, and please feel free to reach out to me or Karim if you need further guidance. And please don't forget to follow and subscribe Security Pulse, where we keep developing and bringing this engaging content to you. Until next time, goodbye.
Thank you.